Hey guys, Varric here. So for this video, I want to touch on something that tends to get overlooked a lot, actually. And honestly, it's just as important as making sure your hit expertise capped, or uh, using the right pets and all the other stuff I went over in my prior videos. And that's your UI and your add-ons. Um, a lot of people overlook that, but it's just as important, I think, as anything else that you do, is your gear and etc. If you're not using the right add-ons, if you're not using add-ons at all, and if your UI is really cluttered, or uh, it's not placed correctly, and you're missing some abilities that should be on, popping up and letting you know, hey, use me, that type of thing, then you're just hurting yourself, and in turn, if you're hurting your raid. If you're dying because you're standing in fire because you don't have something to tell you to get out of that fire, if some people aren't the best at multitasking, they tend to get tunnel vision. um, Add-ons can help you kind of filter some of that stuff out and kind of emphasize on what your weakness might be if you're not really good at tracking, if your serpent sting's about to fall off, or when lock and load procs, or again, if you're standing in fire and you don't have anything to tell you to move because you're so concerned about your cooldowns, or whatnot. So all that stuff works in tandem. It's important to make sure that it's streamlined, it's smooth, and um, everything's kind of working in synergy with each other. You don't want to have a bunch of stuff all cluttered in the middle of your screen. You can't see your character, or you have your cooldowns way off over here somewhere, and you generally want your field of vision to kind of be in this general area, kind of the middle of your screen and right here. Um, Anything off way to the side on your peripherals is probably going to get lost because your character is always in the middle of your screen. So you want to have your focus in this section of the screen right here. So with that said, I'm just going to touch on a few of the add-ons that I think that you really should have. Um, and before I get into that, the probably the best place to go to get your add-ons is curse.com. Um, Especially if you download the Curse client. Basically, anytime that your add-ons are, or if your add-ons are out of date, or if a new patch comes in and the author updates it, it automatically tell you that there's an update available, and you just open that and click on the update button, and it automatically updates the add-on. So you don't have to keep wondering if it's out of date or if something comes up bugged or whatnot. So, but there are some add-ons that aren't on Curse, or not really supported by Curse. Not too many. Um, and I'll go into the ones I have on me, but I'm a kind of a minimalist when it comes to add-ons. I don't run with like 30, 40 add-ons. Some people have a ton of add-ons for every single thing. Um, so just be careful not to go too crazy with add-ons. Again, you want to have the right amount of information coming to you, but you don't want to have that information overload where you're so busy looking at cooldowns or something that you lose sight of your character and you end up dying anyway. Because as they say, you can't DPS if you're dead. So just try to keep, like I said, your character. You can see at least see your character, but you want to have the relevant information that you need to come up. So with that, I'm going to start with one that is mandatory for rating. If you're in, especially if you're in a progressive guild or heroic rating guild, you're going to have this add-on or something comparable to it, and that would be deadly boss mods. Um, the other option is big wigs. Although I've never used big wigs, I've been using deadly boss mods since Burning Crusade, since I started rating. Um, like I said, I don't really know much about big wigs. You can download both and kind of decide which one works better for you. They basically do the same thing. They have all the boss's cooldown abilities. Uh, all the time. If anything bad's about to happen, it's going to give you a timer for it. Let you kind of know, hey, this is coming. You need to prepare. Or if you're standing in something you shouldn't be standing, it'll tell you, you know, pretty much smack you right in the face, say, hey, move, or hey, you need to get out of here, move away, kind of deal. So that really, as far as rating goes, that's pretty much mandatory. You really can't get away with not having that. Um, there are add-ons. I think one's called like GTFO. It basically just it really just annoys you to no end that you're standing in anything that you shouldn't be standing in. It's pretty obnoxious. I don't use it. Deadly Boss Monsters is enough. I have pretty decent rate awareness. I very very rarely ever die from standing in something that I shouldn't. I guess I'm just been raiding for so long. I guess I'm just kind of used to it. But again, I'm not saying I'm the perfect raider. I'm just saying that's not a weak spot of mine. I don't have a problem with dying to stuff that I really shouldn't have. But some people, like I said, they get kind of focused on something else, and they tend not to look that way. Uh, I guess the one of the other add-ons that you probably should have is I'm trying to think of another one that's probably mandatory. Um, no, I'll just go through some of the add-ons that I'm using. Uh, I would highly recommend that you have some type of cooldown timer that lets you know when your abilities are either off cooldown or they're getting ready to come off cooldown. Um, there's a number of add-ons out there. The ones off the top of my head is Need to Know, Tell Me When, uh, and I use cooldown timers. And just give you kind of a slight demonstration. Uh, Anytime I use my abilities, uh, you'll see right on my bars there's like a cooldown on the bars, so I know when they're coming off cooldown. Like, if I just glance at my down, I'm like, all right, I got a second left, and I'll just start spamming my button. Um, all this other stuff that you see, all these numbers, is mixed scrolling combat text. It's just exactly what it is. Just a scrolling combat text add-on that I prefer this one over the stock Blizzard one. But again, if uh, you don't have to have that, I just prefer this one. I'm trying to think of the other ad also use Weak Ores. Weak Ores is very good for keeping track of certain certain abilities. Look right there, that ching and that ability that's right here that's my lock and load proc. That's telling me right there that I have lock and load up. It also has a little number down to it to tell me how many I have left and when it's done. You can track pretty much anything. Serpent Sting, when your Black Arrow is coming off cooldown. Pretty much any of your abilities you can plug in there to kind of give you either a visual cue or a sound cue. Like this one just does both, because it's absolutely vital that I don't miss that. And there are times that there's just so much going on that I may not look down here and notice that it's up. For everything else, I don't normally have. I'm pretty good. Again, I have my boss bar and my bar right here, so I'm able to kind of see what's ticking. Like for instance, my Serpent Sting has a cooldown on. I can just take a split second to glance and like, all right, I need to refresh it. I'm good to go. Some people are terrible at tracking things like Serpent Sting or uh, other abilities. I don't. It's not really something I almost have. I have very good uptime on like Serpent Sting, and if I ever go back and look, it doesn't really fall off. I don't. I'm so used to just doing a rotation now that it doesn't bother me. That's what else. Weak Ores again. That's a one you can play with. Again, I'm not going to go too much into them. Um, I can pull up the little window here, but you can go down in here and play around with it. There's all kinds of stuff. Um, Again, this is my lock and load one. Um, you can name it whatever it is. You can go into and put the ability that you want to, what the trigger is, um, when to load it in combat. Uh, play sound. There's even animations that you can have. So again, it's pretty robust add-on. It's very handy for tracking certain abilities. Um, the one I just clicked on, this is Recount. There's a couple of them. I think the most two popular ones are Recount and SCADA. I've never used SCADA. I know a couple people in my raid use SCADA, but they both do the same thing. And some people say SCADA is slightly better. It's a little bit more versatile. But I've been using Recount for so long. I don't know. I'm just used to it. I may eventually try SCADA, but again, Recount's just fine. All it is a damage meter. It has other things too. Like for instance, it tells me how much damage done. But it also has like the DPS listed out here to the side. But then I can click here and it gives me just my DPS, friendly fire, damage taken, how much healing I've done, how many absorbs, how much healing I've taken, overhealing, how many times I've died, my dot up time. So it just kind of gives you a listing of all kinds of stuff that you might want to use maybe after a wipe, or in between bosses. You want to go back and look and say, well, how well did I do? Let me check something. You can also click on these bars if there's other people in the raid, or if there's more people than you. Excuse me. You can click on this bar and it'll bring up like this little pie chart. It basically just breaks down all your abilities, what the count, how many times you used it, what the damage was, what the percentage was, and then down at the bottom will give you how many times you crit, how many times you hit, that type of stuff. But you can also look at things like who you damaged, like what the damage targets were, uh, partial resists, how much time you spent attacking that with that ability. So it does what it needs to do. For me, like I said, it works fine. If I need to go into any more detail, I'll go into World of Logs. I'll I'll get into that eventually too. But for right now, I just want to stick to add-ons. But that's pretty universal as far as damage meters and whatnot. My basic overall UI is Elv UI. Um, I don't know if you can get it from Curse. I think I had to actually go to the author's website, which you can Google, either Elv UI or Took UI, either one. They're both basically the same. They're a little bit different in layout, but they serve the same function. Again, I'm not going to go too much in depth with this, but it's pretty robust. It has a lot of stuff in it. It has action bars. You can adjust your action bars to anything you can imagine. All your the bars I have down here, my pet bar, your stance bar. It has a bag. I haven't disabled because I already have another bag add-on I've been using. But you can customize your bag add-ons, your buffs, your debuffs, change the size, the color, all kinds of stuff. A chat, you can differently differentiate the chat because I have two chat logs. One's my guild chat over here. I know you guys can't see it, but this is where my guild chat log and stuff is. And over here is my loot tray for kind of like if you're in town and somebody's spamming trade chat, it's not scrolling past my chat log and for my guild in case I miss something. So it's nice to have two windows. Um, Nameplates, different skins for all this stuff. I have some of this turned off. I don't know why. I don't like it for some of the stuff that I use. Tooltip. Anytime you let's see if I can target something. See down there where it says little tooltip down at the bottom. It tells me what that is. Unit frames. This right here. You're probably spending a lot of time. It has all your unit frame, the target of target frame, focus target frame, and etc. and so on. So this, if you decide to use LVUI, again, it's a very good add-on. I like it. It's generally pretty clean. As you can see, I've kind of got everything kind of centralized, at least down at the bottom here. But you could probably spend hours probably getting it to where you want it. So if you do decide to download it, just be patient, play around with it. But I highly, highly recommend grabbing it. Trying to see what the other ones are that I might have. Bang On is a bag add-on. Again, that's not really going to have anything to do with rating. That's just more preference. Cooldown count, that was the little numbers on my cooldown bars. Error filter is really nice. Basically, all that does is it removes the spam that you get when you're spamming your shots. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but it's like saying that ability is not ready yet. You still hear the sound, but the spamming is not going on. It's not spamming me. That ability is not ready yet. That ability is not ready. It just keeps trickling. I don't need that extra crap on my screen. Um, so that's very nice to have. There's another one. I think it's called Error Monster, I believe. I'm not sure, but I use Error Filter. It works just fine. You can change it to where certain filters. Maybe there's some abilities you want to see. I think like if you're LOA or LOS, excuse me. See where it says target needs to be in front of you. It still tells me that add-on. It lets me know that I kind of need to know that if I'm not there. That's important. But the other stuff, because of latency or whatever, I might be spamming something constantly. Same thing with that. So you have nothing to attack. So it lets me know that I'm not targeting anything. Some stuff it stills up, but I think you can go in there and turn that off if you really want to. Um, Hide raid frames. It just hides the regular raid frames. The mixed scrolling combat text is what I went over before. Um, I'll go with this real quick. You can turn certain things off that you may not need. Um, It has like certain spam control, how much of a heal threshold you might want to take, cooldowns, certain loot alerts. The general one, um, if you take an incoming healing and you may not want to see all the spam hots go off on your screen, maybe just big heals. If anything with your pet, if your pet's doing damage, I mean, just normally attacking, you can see that you already have a lot of stuff trickling in here. All my damage abilities, it's already spamming. So when you've got all this other stuff going on, it may be more than you may want. Um, so you have that option of turning that stuff off. Again, pretty nice add-on. Um, I have Omen. Sometimes, most of the time in my raid, if I'm just doing with my normal guild raid, I don't use Omen because I'm have no worries of my tank dropping or having any problems with threat. Um, Sometimes I just leave it on because I forget to just turn it off or whatever, or take it off. But for like LFRs or maybe if I do heroics for some reason to get Valor, I'll kind of leave it on because I don't trust the tanks. I'm not sure. So while I have more than enough visual and even a sound error when I'm pulling threat or getting close to threat, I kind of like to see it. I'm just old-fashioned that way, I guess. But again, you don't have to have that if you trust your tanks. It's just it's nice to have in your back pocket. You can download it, keep it in there, and you can turn it off if you don't need it. There's recount, tidy plates. Um, I actually don't have those turned on my hunter right now. Otherwise, there'd be little bars above these guys. Um, on my rogue, I think I do when I PvP, but I think when I downloaded LVUI, it disabled my regular tidy plates that I had, the other add-on that I had. But it has its own tidy plates, but I haven't really fiddled with it, and generally I don't need it in a raid really. Um, Trying to think if there's really anything else. Um, Again, for LVUI, just real quick, um, you can do all this stuff. You can move anything on here, all your bars, all your chat windows, your raid frames, your anything that you can imagine, you can put anywhere you want. That's why I like this add-on. It's very, very highly customizable. If you don't like where this is sitting, you can move it. If you don't like where this is at, you can move it up. If you don't like the size of it, you can shrink it. So it's very, very useful. Just wanted to put that out there real quick. Um, but as far as your overall UI, again, you want something to tell you when your abilities are off cooldown, whether it's on your bars or maybe you want something more in your face. It just depends on what your weaknesses are. If you're not sure, you want some type of your tracker for your uh, whether it's on the bars for the like serpent sting or whatever. Deadly, if you want a deadly boss mods or big wigs, some type of boss cooldown timers. Um, and whatever UI you decide to go to, I mean, there's things like Xpearl for the unit frames and Bartender for the bars if you want to do that. Just try to keep it clean. Um, that old saying, little is more, or less is more, excuse me. Um, Sometimes having a bunch of stuff is not better. You don't, like I said, you don't want to just crowd the crap out of your screen. Right now, mine's pretty clean, I guess, because there's nothing going on. But in a raid, there is, even for me, there is a lot of stuff. There's a lot of, Deadly Boss Mods has bars right here. My lock and load's procking off. Scrolling compact text is going on. You know, when you're in the middle of a boss fight, things can start to get kind of out of hand as far as all this visual stuff that you got to go on. So just try to, again, other than Deadly Boss Mods and keeping your UI small, try to not just download a bunch of add-ons and then go to town. Oh, I actually forgot really one that's really handy, and that's called Raid Checklist. Especially for us because of our pets and the buffs that they can bring. This is extremely handy. Basically, what this add-on is, it'll give you all the buffs, the supports, debuff, dispels, um, anything that you can possibly imagine when it comes to raids, buffs, and debuffs. Just real quick, if it's a green flag, that means it's active. For instance, critical strike, my wolf can provide that. So I mean, it's not on at the moment, but I have that ability. It's there. I know I have that buff. Attack power because of True Shot aura, it's already active. I know it. If it's in blue, it means you have the capability of providing that buff. I.e., the pets in my stable because I have a serpent and serpent swiftness, I have the ability to have attack speed. Same thing with spell haste because of the spore bat, and then master because of my cat. Um, Slow casting again from the spore bat, and then weakened armor because of the tall strider. Um, if you click on it, it'll basically give you a more detailed of who can provide that. Um, for instance, it'll tell you hunters get widow's venom at level 40 that can provide mortal wounds. Same thing for if you have the pet, if you're Beastmaster for Devilsaur. It'll give you each, whatever class can provide that buff, it'll give you a listing of that buff. Same thing with critical strike druids, hunters can provide it with a bunch of stuff, mages. So it's extremely handy if you're in a raid and you're not sure what buffs you're missing. Um, it's a real simple, but it's really effective. I highly recommend that you download this one. It's called Raid Checklist. Um, but I think that's going to do it for add-ons. Again, just keep in mind with whatever UI you decide to go with, especially if you're not used to add-ons, it's going to take time for you to get comfortable with. You're going to have to play around with it, especially to get everything to fit probably where you want it. So I would recommend before you just jump into a raid and go to town with a bunch of new add-ons, go into something like an LFR and see how things will look when you're actually on a boss or something. Because it's like right now everything might look cool, but then I get into a raid and I have my raid frames all over here, and I got my target right here, and then my focus target, and then I got all my deadly boss mods going on, and it just starts to get crazy. And if you don't have it as smooth and as neatly as you can place it, then it's just going to really get crappy, and then you're going to just end up hurting yourself instead of helping. So just keep that in mind. Um, Real quick, I'm going to go over some of the macros that I use. I don't use a ton of macros, especially survival. It's not really necessary. I mean, unless you're trying to combine a few things to maybe minimize your buttons. But as far as like trying to just combine a bunch of abilities into one, it's not really necessary nowadays. Beastmaster has a couple that you might be able to do with Kill Command and Bestial Wrath, stuff like that. But even that you might want to be careful of. Um, but a few that I use is just to focus my assist focus. So whatever target I have a focus, I can immediately just hit that macro, and I'm already targeting what he's targeting. Simple, but it's sometimes better than just trying to click whatever you think he's attacking. At least if you're focused your tank, which you should, then you're attacking what he's attacking, so there's no chance of hitting the wrong target. Um, this one is just basically just when I cast my rapid fire, it casts rabbit at the same time. Um, Again, it's just trying to combining a little bit of the abilities without having to hit rapid fire and then hit rapid. Um, Deterrence one. This one's actually pretty important, especially in Throne of Thunder right now, because there's a lot of things that you can use deterrence for. But sometimes you don't need the full 5 seconds, because obviously if you're deterrence, you can't attack. So you want to just block whatever the ability is, mitigate the damage, and get right back to attacking. So it's really handy to cast deterrence, get whatever you need out of it, and then immediately cancel the aura so that you can go back to attacking. It's just cancel aura / cancel aura deterrence / cast deterrence. Make sure it's in that order, because if you turn it the other way around, you'll you'll cancel the aura before you ever use the deterrence, so it won't really do any good. So make sure you put cancel aura deterrence, then cast deterrence. Um, this one I think I've had for my Beastmaster. I haven't used it in a while. I'm not sure. Yeah, see, I had a trinket that on use, so it's been a while since I've actually used this one. This misdirection was actually pretty handy too. Basically, what this does is, um, if I have a focus target, so like say if I'm in a raid and I have a tank, and I focus target him, if I cast misdirection, it will cast it on him. If I don't have a focus target, it'll automatically cast misdirection on my pet. So if I'm out doing dailies or whatever and I decide to cast misdirection, I don't have to target my pet with misdirection. I just have to hit that macro and boom, it automatically targets my pet. Um, this one's kind of like your pet attack. Um, and then if you want to pull it back, well, actually this is my hunter's mark. It sends my pet in, and then it'll put my pet back. For instance, if I want to pull him back at me or follow me, it's mainly used for questing or dailies. I can just send my pet in first before I attack anything. It immediately starts my attack. So there's variations of this too. Um, pet assist, pet attack. Um, but again, it's pretty useful. Uh, this trap one basically it casts trap launcher and then immediately will put the ability out on the whatever trap I'm using with its freezing trap, frost trap. I don't have to actually target it or whatever, so it can become kind of handy. So guys, that's it. I'm gonna stop here. Hopefully you found this useful. I appreciate you guys watching.